as Minister for Special Education, I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to introduce and talk about this urgent piece of legislation, the Education Provision in Respect of Children's Special Education Needs Bill 2022. Here in the Channel today, and to discuss how it is intended that this legislation will work to support children with special education needs to gain access to specialist class placements which can meet their needs. The NCSE continue to advise my department that just over 100 children in the Dublin region require a special class or special school place for the coming school year. And while my department and the NCSE will continue to engage with schools to open more classes, I'm confident that the provisions in this legislation, if enacted, can also play a key role in supporting this work. And I want to begin by thanking the Leader of the Seanad and Senators for facilitating such a quick opportunity to discuss this bill in the Seanad after it passed through the Lower House last week. And I'm happy to report that this legislation received support from all sides in the Lower House. I was also very happy to see that a number of special education needs advocacy groups and parents' representative bodies such as I Am, Inclusion Ireland, National Parents Council, Primary and Special Classes in Schools Ireland have all welcomed this legislation and have called for it to be progressed and enacted into law without delay. Our Special Education Consultative Forum has played a significant role in advising on the need for this legislation. And I also want to acknowledge the cooperation of senators who are members of the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Education for agreeing to a waiver of the requirement for pre-leg scrutiny of this bill, given the urgency of the situation. And I'm looking forward to our discussion of the bill today and later in the week at committee and final stages. In my opening statement, I want to briefly talk through the main provisions in the bill. In my closing statement, I might just touch on two particular issues. Firstly, the commitment of my department and the NCSE to continue to engage with and collaborate with schools to open new classes. And secondly, I want to highlight both my department's and the NCSE ongoing commitment to provide the appropriate resources for schools opening special classes. So first of all, in relation to provisions in the bill, there are 12 sections in the bill, and as I only have a limited amount of time, I'll focus on two key sections of the bill. The key provision in this new legislation is Section 6, which provides for a truncated Section 37A process whereby the Department of Education can direct a school to make additional provision for children with special educational needs. This new process would allow me, as Minister for Special Education and Inclusion, to serve a ministerial direction on a school receiving a report from the NCSE setting out its opinion that there are insufficient school places in a certain area. And while efforts will continue to encourage more schools to open special classes, it is considered necessary to provide a revised Section 37A process to enable the Minister to direct schools to open a sufficient number of additional special classes to ensure that children have a special class placement for the coming school year. The revised process will still give schools the opportunity to respond to an initial notice from the Minister for Special Education and a draft direction from the Minister before I may ultimately direct a school to open a special class. And it is intended that the revised Section 37A allows me to issue directions to schools within a period of 6 to 8 weeks after receiving a detailed report from the NCSE. And this legislation seeks to ensure that a child-centred and a child-focused approach is taken to the provision of special education classes. And as well as addressing the issues relating to Section 37A, the draft legislation also seeks to strengthen the obligations on schools to cooperate with the NCSE when requested to open a new special class or expand special school provision. Section 8 then relates to Section 67 of the Education Act, which provides for the NCSE or TUSLA to designate a school place for a particular child. And to date, this section of the Act has not been commenced. Section 8 provides for the amendment of Section 67 of the Education Act by removing the provision for an appeal by a school board against a decision of the NCSE or TUSLA to designate a school place for a child. The provision allowing a parent to appeal a decision of the NCSE or TUSLA not to make a decision to designate a school place when requested by a parent to do so is also being removed. And it is considered that this provision is not necessary, given the option available to a parent to appeal a decision of a school board to refuse to admit under Section 29 of the Education Act, and the fact that it is expected that the NCSE will make a decision to designate a special class or special school place in situations where there are places available. And where there is a lack of places, this can be addressed through the Section 37A process. Provision is made to allow a school board to make representations to the NCSE or TUSLA where a school is directed to admit a child. Where the NCSE or TUSLA, after consideration of any representations, remain of the opinion that the designation is necessary, then they shall confirm the direction in writing to the board. A board shall comply with such a direction. So it's my intention to commence Section 67 once this legislation is enacted, and this will provide an important new power to designate a school place for a child with special educational needs. So I'm looking forward to working with colleagues here in the Seanad to progress this urgent legislation before the current term ends. And in relation to possible amendments of this bill, I would ask deputies to understand the very short time frame that is available to us, and it might not be possible to accept a number of amendments on the bill. And I very much commend the bill to this House, and I look forward to hearing from all your contributions. Thank you.